What is going on, everybody? How we all doing today? We doing good? Yeah? We doing okay? Alright. Let's get into our stuff. I think it's just fair for me to warn you guys up front right now. Just straight up. I'm running on extremely low amount of sleep. I couldn't even string that sentence together. Stupidly low amount of very little sleep. Very little sleep right now. Very little sleep. I got no good predictions. Uh, no more late points. No, it's done. It's over with. There's no more late points. If you guys want to try and cash in on late points, you can feel free to. You're always allowed to cash in on the late points that you guys have already accumulated. If you no longer feel confident that you're gonna accrue any, now's as good a time as any. Um, Ankit Patel, thanks for the 10. What is your rationale for why Shamrock equals Shanks? From a narrative perspective, seems like Shanks plus one arm plus God's Knight's powers. Seems like they should be close to equal. It's not just you, BTW. My rationale is just because, so quick context. The reason I'm low on sleep, I promise it connects. The reason I'm low on sleep, last week I promised a video breaking down all of the final matchups in the final war that seem to have been set up. Okay, because I think about a good 80% of them for between the Straw Hats and all major side characters actually seem to be lined up pretty damn well. Like a really significant amount. Okay? It turned out to be a very fucking long video. So it's going to be two parts. So part one is focused on Straw Hats and the Blackbeard Pirates. And that's dropping this Tuesday. Okay? Part two will probably be the next break week. Because obviously something really cool will happen this next chapter. I want to address that. And then in some following week, I can drop part two of the video. But anyway, for Shanks, if you look at the landscape of characters that Shanks could potentially fight as a good matchup for him for endgame, it really comes down to two options. And I'm not talking about Blackbeard because I think most people believe that Blackbeard will defeat Shanks at some point. We're talking about Shanks getting a W in there before going down, right? So somebody that Shanks could be a prospective opponent for Shanks to defeat before he is, out of the story or, defeated by Blackbeard, whatever, right? Out of all of the available options, it's pretty much either Shamrock or for Garling. Those are the two that make sense for Shanks. And Garling, the tricky thing is that Dragon also has seemingly a strong argument. There's been people pointing out about like the similarities in how Oda's kind of been paralleling their appearances, things like that. So I narrowed down to Shamrock. A lot of it is just based on the assumption. Like when we're trying to figure out characters that we know so little about, so much is based on assumptions, right? We have to make assumptions, right? So we're kind of guessing like what is their role in the story, what are they here for, what is their purpose. I would not be surprised if like Oda, because the way Oda's kind of written it, we are at this point in the story, Shanks versus an admiral is no longer exciting because Oda's already basically shown us that Shanks can make an admiral shit their pants just from releasing his haki alone, right? He doesn't have to do anything even. He can just release his Conqueror's haki. No one is going to be excited at this point to see like Shanks versus Green Bull or Shanks versus like Fujitora, Kizaru, whatever. Like it's just not, it would feel almost underwhelming at this point, right? Especially because most people seem to expect Shanks to be stronger than Luffy is right now, all of that stuff. We want a really strong opponent for him. So we kind of have to look past admirals, marines, and stuff like that. And the only options seem to be Gorosei. But even among the Gorosei, it's like which Gorosei seems really impressive. At this point, it's just Garling or Shanks' counterpart in the God's Knights, his evil twin brother, whatever, Shamrock. So I wouldn't be surprised if Shamrock will get some feats soon that make him exciting, and then that becomes Shanks' opponent in the final war, either him or Garling. I think that's the way I look at it at the moment. Obviously, there's more options that could appear over time. Maybe there's some other God Knight that's even more impressive that we have yet to see. But yeah, I'm not saying Shamrock is as strong as Shanks, but I feel like that is likely to be if I had to gun to my head right now, say like, who do you think is a Shanks opponent in the final arc? I'd be like, the evil Shanks. It's straightforward logic, right? People, for some of these things, people want like really like a long argument or proof or something like that for like, why do you think this Shamrock is above this character, that character, or something. We know it's a little about. It's like we can only speculate right now, right? So my speculation, I think Shanks is a certain level of strength. I think that it'll probably give him a fitting final opponent. And so I would just point to Evil Shanks. Who do I think is Shanks' final opponent? It might be Evil Shanks, so I rate Evil Shanks accordingly. That's it, right? It's just speculation. Keenan, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 34 months, man. Always good to see you. Seriously, thanks for the long time support. Bro tried to say I'm running on fumes and it just couldn't compute. Rest up, Morge. It's because the video, I was trying to do this video last night. It got so fucking long. So even the video that will drop Tuesday is longer than my usual Tuesday videos. And that's just half of it. So the other half is going to be a whole separate ass video. So I definitely burnt myself out last night. But I got energy. Don't worry about that. Thanks, Keenan. Thanks for the support. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Like, if Shamrock turns out to be underwhelming, that's all cool. I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, I had so many Shamrock stocks in there. It's more so I'm just guessing at this character's role right now. We know very little about him. I'm like, maybe he's fucking Shanks' opponent soon. If he's Shanks' opponent and it's meant to be like a high difficulty opponent for Shanks, he's probably pretty strong. That would mean he'd have to be like Yonko level. See what I'm saying? Zolden, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 23 months, man. Just want to get my prediction in before I got to work. I think we're going to get Rox beating Roger a year before God Valley. I agree. Let's get into that shit. I do agree. I don't know if it'll be right here in this chapter, but I think that that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to get some solid Rox, because that seemed to be implied from what Roger was saying back when we got Kuma's flashback. He seemed to imply that things had gone wrong for them against the Rox Pirates in the past. And I like that because we get to see things from the villain's perspective first, and then we'll get to see, once we get the God Valley flashback, we get to see Roger, assuming, like, we can assume we'll probably get to see Roger turn things around, you know? It's Roger, so I think it's not, like, an insane bet. But I do think that this flashback is the time that we're going to be seeing, obviously, Rox look really good. So, yeah, I'm on board with that. Here we go. Hold on. All right. Let me just clear out the past predictions and everything. I do agree with your predictions, Olden. Even if it doesn't happen literally right this very second, I agree. Let me just set up everything. Okay. The hell? Okay. All right, I guess we're good. All right, here we go. So Zolden said, we see Rox defeating Roger before, 1 year before God Valley. Let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick because we're almost there. Attilio, thanks for the 10, man. I remember you mentioning wanting ADHD meds a month ago. How'd that pan out? I'd also like to mention that doctors are hesitant to prescribe stimulants way more effective due to abuse potential. So, the appointment was supposed to be this last Wednesday, and then I found out that they don't take so it seems like I'm gonna have to go through, because I'm trying to do it through Zoom, like, or not through Zoom, but you know what I mean, like a video call type appointment. I'm really trying to avoid having to go to an actual place. because it's just such a time suck. Time suck. My words are just. Keep anybody tuning in right now. I'm very sleep deprived at the moment, running on 3 hours right here. All right. So the ADHD medication. Yeah, I was trying to do an appointment last week, and then literally like the morning of, I was told that my insurance doesn't cover it. So I was like, can I just pay out of pocket? And then the site that I was using, it's called Talkiatry, said that no, we don't accept out of pocket. I'm just like, why? But I'll just pay you the money. I just want to do this appointment, knock it out of the way. So that didn't go through, and so this week I didn't get time to schedule anything new. It looks like I'm gonna have to take some time this weekend to just schedule something that's probably not gonna be a video call. It's probably gonna have to be like an actual legit. Like I can't do a televisit. That's the word for it. A televisit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to actually do a legit thing. But I'll tell you right now, I definitely would like ADHD medication because, like, as much as I've told you guys that I stayed up last night very late writing and everything like that, I didn't have to. Earlier in the day, Thursday, just got distracted. And then it took a while for me to... I started writing later than I should have, and it was already going to be a very, very big script, so then it just spilled over and just became like close to an all-nighter. Again, two-parter, so the second part will come out later, but watch out for this Tuesday's video. But yeah, I hate it when like I can literally feel like I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? It's a silly thing to complain about, but it's just like, why can't I just get into it faster? Because the frustrating thing is that once I get started working on something, then usually I'm good. Then I'm very locked in and focused. I might take like quick 5-10 minutes here or there, breaks once in a while, but I can usually just go once I'm started for like the next 8 hours straight or whatever. Like yeah, usually once I've started, then it's just nonstop. More than 8 hours, yeah, like 8 hours, like whatever, like I can just go. Then I'm good. But it's hard for me to get myself to start because I'll like open the thing and I'll be like, oh, let me give myself, okay, this is easy, I can do this, blah blah blah, and then let me give myself like quick 5 minutes. Let me just like watch something on YouTube real quick, or let me just browse Reddit or something real quick, stuff like that. I'm at my best when I know that I shouldn't have any other tabs open, etc. Prepare myself to work properly, all of that stuff. But sometimes you know all the right things to do and then you still just don't do them. It's just part of being a person. So that's just what's and the other difficult thing is that because I also know that once I get going, I can just be in a zone and just go nonstop, right? That also leads to me then procrastinating getting the thing started, because let's say I give myself a generous, I'm like, okay, it's like I don't know, it's like 10 a.m. I got all day to write or whatever, right? And I'm like, you know what, it's this is hypothetical, right? 10 a.m. I got all day to write, right? And in my mind I'm like, I know that once I get going, like once I start and once I get going, I can just knock this out. So because I know that in the back of my mind, I can keep pushing. So I'm like, it's 10 a.m. I got the full day ahead of me. You know what? Let me just scroll Reddit for a little bit. Let me go on YouTube for a little bit or something like that. And then the time can keep, or then it's like, let me go take a walk or something to clear my head. Let me go make a coffee, right? There's so many little things. Let me go play with the dogs a little bit. And the time keeps on moving and moving, and it's just like, okay, this is not bad, this is not bad. I know that once it gets to a certain point, it still wouldn't even be that bad, because like I know I can just lock in and then I can just knock it out all in one go. I just have to do it, and then that thing I keep pushing and pushing, and then it gets late, and then there's pressure, and then I don't want to start because now it's late, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be such a slog to suffer through now, because now I'm getting tired and I haven't really made much progress and stuff. So I know once I start, it's just going to be hell. And then that's how you end up with like all-nighters. So I would love to get ADHD medication. I think that would really help with a lot of that. Watch me get ADHD medication, and the Wana video is just done next week. Retro Records, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 34 months. Hey, Morge, my predictions are Loki will get a fight next chapter, and we won't see rocks for the rest of the flashback. How's the shoulder? My shoulder's good. My shoulder's good. I actually strained, so you know what's funny? I actually strained my shoulder. On on the flight back from Cancun like a monthish ago, month and a half now maybe. Because I slept in a weird position. So that's when I realized that the shoulder, like certain things, I think once you're past a certain age, certain aches and pains and stuff won't just like go away forever. They'll always be secretly there, just waiting for you to reignite them. Because I didn't have shoulder pain for the longest time. But after that flight back from Cancun, all it took was like, I slept bad on the way there and I slept bad on the way back. And what do you know? After that, oh shit, my shoulder, the same strain I had before is back. Not as bad as it was, but it was back. And it took a few weeks for it to go away. So it's still there. And it's very light and lingering. But I'm just like, fuck, it's just never, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. I just know that it can be strained again. Anyway. Loki will get a fight next chapter, and we won't see rocks for the rest of the flashback. Oh shit, that's a crazy prediction. Not crazy, it's just I would feel very blue-balled if Oda went with that route. Loki will get a fight, and we won't see rocks for the rest of the flashback. Also, has anyone seen the Fantastic Four movie? Because, so, we have to go see it tonight. I mean, I was down to see it regardless, but like we're going with a group and everything like that, and with my girlfriend's work friends basically. So we're going as some, like, one of her coworkers was able to book he knows somebody at a theater, so he's able to like book full theaters for just people that he knows to come watch it. We still have to pay for tickets for some reason, but he's able to book the theaters because he knows somebody who works at a movie theater. So that's kind of cool. So we're going to watch it, and I was looking forward to that. I'm like neutral on the Marvel movies and stuff, but Fantastic Four seemed like maybe cool or different or whatever. After last night when I got very, very, very little sleep, the last thing that I want to do right now is wait to like go watch a movie at like 9:30 p.m. Probably won't start till like 9:45, 10. Not out of there till midnight. Not home till like 12:15. It's the last thing that I want to do. So this movie better be good. Is it good? Way more entertaining than I thought it'd be. Fantastic Four was awful, bro. Predictable slop with lazy writing. I don't know. I enjoyed the Superman movie. I thought that was good. I thought it was enjoyable. Felt good. Yeah, it was just a solid, feel-good, fun movie. Loved what they did. I think Superman and Lex Luthor, they nailed that dynamic. Especially Lex Luthor. I think Lex Luthor was actually the highlight of the movie for me. And then Superman and Lois had a very natural chemistry. And yeah, I think it just had some like good, feel-good energy. Really, really feel-good last fight scene. I won't say it's like a perfect movie or anything like that, but I think they nailed what a Superman vibe should feel like. I think that's the main thing. They nailed what a Superman vibe should feel like. People compare it a lot to Man of Steel and shit. It's bizarre because like I go to Twitter and there's like wars over there about like Man of Steel versus Superman, and it's just baffling to me. I'm like, why? What does this even have to? I just don't get it. Like, what? Why even compare? Like, Man of Steel is like a while back, like 10 years ago or something, right? And like, why rip up Man of Steel just to gas up Superman? Man of Steel was by no means a perfect Superman movie. It was far from. It was the wrong vibe for Superman. But Man of Steel did some other things really well, which was the action. Man of Steel action is sick. I still think Man of Steel came out like maybe over a decade ago now, and I still think it is the closest thing. Kryptonians fighting in Man of Steel is the closest thing to live action Dragon Ball Z that we're gonna get, that we've gotten. Basically, like Man of Steel action really is unique and like unique and visceral, impactful superhero action in a way that I don't think another movie's replicated. So if I could somehow combine, not that the new Superman movie's action was bad. It was good. It was good, and it had fun sequences, which is it has its own merits, right? But Man of Steel felt very, very different action wise. It was like it actually felt like I'd say the new Superman movie was the best overall as the Superman movie, just a better movie in general. Man of Steel is not the best movie, but in terms of pure action, Kryptonian on Kryptonian fighting, Man of Steel was definitely like forget this Superman movie. I still think Man of Steel has some of the probably the best superhero fight sequences in any movie, personally, that I've seen. So if they could somehow take that and then just apply that here, that'd be really good. Yeah, and that's the weird thing. Henry Cavill was perfectly cast just in a bad movie. I don't know if Henry Cavill was perfectly cast. I think he's a better actor than people give him credit for. Because go watch Man from Uncle. I think his talents were limited in Man of Steel. Go watch Man from Uncle. That's when you'll see Henry Cavill actually shine. He's like actually a very, very charismatic actor. He's just for some reason found himself in these roles like fucking like playing like the most dull version of Superman, playing monotone Geralt, playing that random guy from Mission Impossible. If you watch Man from Uncle, he's actually like a really likable, charismatic actor when he's in that type of role. But I definitely think that this new guy, David whatever, is a much much better Superman. Much much better Superman than Clark Kent. It feels like a very human, but still likable. Like it. I think he plays the line perfectly. Um, what's the other thing? I had one more thought. Yeah, no, it's really bizarre. On Twitter, people are like bashing Henry Cavill. That's like the crazy thing. Like, it's just, it feels so hateful. It's like he didn't do anything for the, like, it's just a new Superman movie came out or whatever. That's all. But like, people are turning it into a war between like this new dude and Henry Cavill. And like, they're roasting Henry Cavill's like looks and stuff like that. They're like, he's so much uglier than the new Superman. It's just bizarre. It's like, why are you going after, like, this? Why are people so hateful? What the fuck? He's not even doing anything. It's kind of weird. Um, Oof says Henry is great but gets bad roles, fires agent. Yeah, I don't know. But this was a good. If I were to rate like the Superman movies I've seen, I think Superman 1 and 2 to date are still because Superman 1 and 2 combines. They're really like one big. That's what makes them epic. It's really one big continuous movie that just gets chopped in half. It's almost Lord of the Rings esque in that way. Superman 1 and 2 are the best Superman movies. Just for Christopher Reeve is still probably the best Superman. I'd say the new guy is a better Clark Kent. Like he's a more Clark like Christopher Reeve still feels more like Superman, whereas this new guy feels like Clark Kent is his true persona almost, and like, but he's able to put on the Superman persona when he needs to, and I think that transition in the acting is phenomenal. Christopher Reeve is just like a more just straightforward like great Superman, like he just radiates like Superman energy, if that makes sense. Um, I'd say the Superman 1 and 2 are just like they're the best movies in the sense of like the story, the pacing, like all of that just flows, like the narrative, all of it just flows very well. They ultimately feel like the best movies. They feel like the most thoughtfully made films and storylines, but they're damn dated. They're very dated. They're just dated movies at this point. You cannot watch like the action. Ultimately, you want some good action. The action is just abysmal there. I'd say everything there in terms of like the character stuff, sense of stakes between 1 and particularly 2 and everything. It's all better than the later stuff. It's just it's not an enjoyable action movie watch anymore. That's the biggest thing holding it back. So I can no longer put those as the best. Then Superman Returns is actually the best movie for the first half and then throws it all the way in the second half. In the first half, it actually nails kind of the sophistication and mature storytelling of like the Dark Knight films. particularly the Dark Knight itself, right? Like I think the other two are kind of bad, but it nails that feel. And then the second half is just garbage. So Superman Returns is kind of the bottom. Man of Steel, best action, worst Superman vibes. And then the new Superman is just, I think it's got the best combination. It's got great Superman vibes, like from the old school Superman movies, like the Christopher Reeve one. It's got much better updated action. It's very, very colorful, very imaginative. Feels the most comic booky. I would add that. Yeah, I think it's just the best combination overall. Anyway, that's my overall thoughts. Sorry I got sidetracked. Should take the ADHD medication at some point. All right. One Piece, One Life. Thanks for the 10. Yo, Morge, playing catch up with the streams. Did you stop doing the poster promotion where people can hop on stream? Also, what's your experience with ad/channel or video promotion? Hold on. Oh, okay, all good. Thanks. Sorry, what did you say? What is where people can hop on stream? What's your experience with ad/channel on video promos? Trying different stuff for mine. Okay, great questions. So, because you asked, I'm sure you noticed the beautiful posters that we have in the back. These are all the One Piece V2s. These are the version 2s of the Island posters that we debuted this month. I think these are way better than the originals across the board. Not way better, but it's just the artist Dredge was able to reimagine he had more time to reimagine them, so he came up with some really brilliant stuff. So Water 7, obviously, this is beautiful. I think the night version of Water 7 is even stronger. You got the Sea Train in there. Enies Lobby, now with the Straw Hats march to Enies Lobby. I know they didn't technically march to Enies Lobby, but it's like an imaginative version, right? Imagine them also just standing up here. It works the same way. Alabasta, Sunset Time. Absolutely beautiful. Luffy and Crocodile in the front. Skypiea, Doomsday, Rygo, Marineford, the entire ocean tilting. Baratier with Mihawk eerily approaching. Love the color palette for this one. Zoe Sunset, O'Hara in Flames. Just, yeah, if you want the V2s, go to the website right now and pick them up. Buy 2, you can get 2. Yeah, I'm just going to pin this right here for you all. As for the promotion where you can hop on stream. Oh, and you guys may have noticed one thing, which is the moon right there, exclusive poster that you cannot buy. It's just a free poster that anybody that collects all the islands gets. All the islands doesn't mean, what do you call? All the islands doesn't mean you need V1, V2 of everything, just one of every island. Like if you've completed the world of One Piece, you know what I mean? You don't need every version of something or whatever. It's just like anybody that's managed to complete the whole world of One Piece or whatever, you can get, just let us know and we'll send you the moon. Ideally, you can tag on Twitter, just showcase your photo of all of your islands that you got, and we'll send you the moon. So the moon is the hidden, unlockable, final destination thing, basically. All right, continuing on. Did I stop promotions where people can hop on stream? Yes, those are on pause for a while. With ad/channel or video promos, trying different stuff for mine. So we do still, if you go to the site and you go to the contact us section, because we started getting lots of requests for this, and I didn't want to, like, for example, there was somebody that, if you guys remember, I read somebody's, like, manga on stream, right? That was just for free to give exposure or whatever. A lot of people have been messaging more and more for, like, can you do this on stream? Can you shout out my this thing on stream? Stuff like that. The new blanket thing basically is just, if you want a stream promotion or shout out of your thing, I'm down to do that. There is a place on the site that you can go to. I'm not doing that for free though anymore. So that's like a sponsor. That's like a mini sponsorship basically at this point. If you go under contact us, there's stream shout out. So, once you start saying that you're gonna do some things, then like suddenly everybody's like, okay, well, can you promote my this thing or that thing or something like that? It's like I don't want to pick and choose off this stuff. So if you want to stream shout out, you can do that, but I'm not making it easy, if that makes sense. Mr. MMF2, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 33 months, man. Thank you for the long time support. Yo, more Jussie, why not post short videos on Saturday's break week instead of chapter reviews? I predict rocks will be revealed to have the Gura Gura no Mi. Listen, man, because I could post short videos, but then that's like additional, that's additional. Keep in mind, the chapter reviews generally are up for a limited period of time regardless, and then they get moved to the Morge archive channel for algorithm reasons. So I'm not going to try and put out like quick and dirty videos on Saturday on top of that. And yeah, the chapter reviews and stuff, what am I thinking? Oh no, sorry, the Saturday videos, like, I want videos to be high quality. So like, I've spent a long time working on next Tuesday's video. If I were to try and crank out like a video for tomorrow on top of that, that would just be a lot of extra stuff. Like, on weeks where there's no chapters, it does give me, like, and my editor a little bit of a breather, which we do also appreciate, you know? And allows us to put a little extra time into the weekly Tuesday video. I predict Rocks will be revealed to have the Gura Gura no Mi. Oh, that'd be cool. Maybe that mimics his sword style, too. Rocks will have Gura Gura no Mi. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 2. Idea, every successful prediction equals 5 late points. Fuck no. Fuck no. Hell no. Five late points? That's insane. You know you guys do get some stuff right? Like pretty much every week. Malkazar, thanks for the 11. Morge, who do you think ate the Hito Hito no Mi model Jesus? Considering Jesus is canon to the world of One Piece, Miss Merry Christmas, Mihawk's necklace, Kuma's Bible. Yeah, I don't know. You know what's crazy? So like, so Ohara did a video where he invited, this was like in the last year or so, I think. Maybe a year or two ago? I don't know. He did a video where he invited different YouTubers to suggest like devil fruit ideas for One Piece, right? And so he was like, yeah, just send me a clip of you recording a devil fruit idea for One Piece. And I was like, I went with the Hito Hito no Mi model Jesus. I was like, this would be a really broken devil fruit because it's Jesus. And I pointed out that Christianity is obviously a thing in One Piece and that there's lots of examples of Christianity, right? Even though that's obviously not going to be the main thing that we're focusing on, right? I'm not even Christian. Like, that's not a thing. Like, I'm not pushing propaganda or something. I'm literally just pointing out, like, yeah, Mihawk fucking travels around with a cross, right? Like, there's churches and shit, right? Like, that is a thing, you know? So I did that, and then, like, so many of the comments were saying, like, I felt so singled out, because there's, like, 20 other YouTubers in this video. For some reason, so many of the comments were, like, specifically roasting my pick, and they were just like, Morge is an idiot. Why would there be the Jesus fruit? There's no Jesus in One Piece. It's Nika. Nika's the only thing, etc. I'm like, I didn't respond to any of these, but I was just blown away because I'm like, I know, like, first of all, we don't even, like, Nika being real or not isn't even a established thing, right? This is purely, the only thing that matters for devil fruits is, do people believe in them, right? It does appear, like, for whatever reason, we don't know the context, but it does appear that fucking Christianity, there's so many symbols of Christianity in the One Piece universe, and like people reference God throughout, like they're praying to God and shit throughout the story, and they're definitely not talking about God Nika because that's like a very obscure God that we only learned about recently, right? So I was just blown away by that. I was like, no, there's fucking actual examples of what seemed to be Christianity in One Piece, suggesting that like if there's all these crosses and churches and shit, that people also seem to believe in that shit. So wouldn't the Hito Hito no Mi model Jesus, like, that's at least a plausible devil fruit idea. Obviously, Oda's never going to do that because it throws too many things out of whack, but I'm just like, I'm not, like, this isn't insane. It's in the fucking manga. I don't know. Kuma literally has a Bible? Yeah, it's not a Bible about Nika. As far as we know, that wouldn't be a thing. If it was, the world government would confiscate that from him. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. I don't think Luffy can become Pirate King with Dragon alive. He's too strong as a character, which is why I think Oda will write him off, like with Shanks. I don't think so. I think Luffy will surpass those characters. Like, I think there's no character that currently exists that's in their prime, like a Shanks or Dragon. Or even if you brought back Roger or Whitebeard or whatever, I don't think, like, Luffy's going to get to Joy Boy level, which is just like a next level thing. I don't think that there's anybody who exists in their prime right now that is Joy Boy level. So I think Luffy's fine in that sense. The reason I've repeatedly said that, like, Ace, Wiper, those are characters that have to be killed off is because they at least would mimic Luffy. Like, they're young characters who would mimic Luffy's growth rate. And Ace, the big deal was that he's 3 years older than Luffy. So, like, Ace would be hitting Roger's level probably back when Luffy's fucking training in Sabaody still or something like that, you know? So, like, Luffy's contemporaries that have the same potential are the ones that need to be cut from the story. Characters like Shanks, who doesn't have a devil fruit or anything, like the Nika fruit, or Dragon, who may have a devil fruit, I don't think he's going to be as strong as, like, peak potential Luffy. Like, I think we are likely set for an end of story situation where, like, I don't think Shanks will be able to defeat end of story Blackbeard. I don't think Dragon will be able to defeat end of story Emu. I think Luffy will be stronger than both those villains. Paul, thanks for the 2. If Luffy dies, Buggy will become Pirate King. If Luffy dies, Buggy will become Pirate King. That'd be funny. And I've always said I could see Luffy dying at the end of the story. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. L, thanks for the 5. We got to Blackbeard admitting to Garp that he's Vex's son. We go to Blackbeard admitting to Garp that he's Vex's son and tells his or Zebek's plan to conquer Zawarudo. That is very, very possible. Habits on his / Rox's plans to conquer the world. Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. Attilio, thanks for the 5. MDs often start with mildish non-stims that take weeks to work, unlike fast-acting stims. It can take 5+ appointments to get stimulant approval. Good luck. What the fuck? No. That can't be right. I just need it. That's just like trying to suck money out of me. Or I guess my insurance company or something like that. What the fuck? No, I can't be doing that. I don't want to go to multiple appointments. I'm going to look that up, how to get ADHD medication, like, right away. I just need to try it and then see what happens afterwards. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I just need to try it and see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Oh, MT Mind, I know what you're talking about here. Thanks for the 2. Look up Kid Punk Rotten has Rock's right eye scar. Yeah, so if you look up Kid's here, let me look up Kid, One Piece, Kid, and Rocks. I swear there's a visual image of this. Kid and Rocks. Especially because, like, you know what's funny? Is that Kid's outfit is very similar to Rox's. So what people are referring to when they talk about this shit is... here we go. Like, Kid's outfit is damn similar to Rox's, right? They got the same... Yeah, like, it's fucking similar as fuck. It's pretty damn similar. I mean, so was Kaido's, and what do you know? Kaido is very much inspired by Rocks, right? Kaido, by the way, is if you go back and reread a lot of Kaido's dialogue, it's pulled straight from Rocks. Rocks in 1155 is talking about, like, we're gonna take Fullaled and turn it into, we're gonna take Hachinosu and turn it into a pirate's paradise or whatever. And Kaido literally says that once he beheads Orochi, he's like, we're gonna take Wano and turn it into a pirate's paradise. They want the same thing. So this is like the Kid, like, there might be a connection, right? If Oda's having similar, like, characters that are inspired by Rocks having the same sort of grip, right? I think that's interesting. I just don't know what to make of it. What is this? Who's Beck's child? Oh, this must have been a post from a long time ago. Huh. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. It's a lot of mysteries. Some could go nowhere. But the thing that people were referencing is that Kid's Punk Rotten has a scar in the same place that Rox has his scar, so there might be a connection there. I still believe that Kid has relevance in the story. Mac SM, thanks for being a Yonko tier member. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure to check out the podcast from this last Tuesday. I drop podcasts every Tuesday alongside the main video that comes out with all of the extended thoughts. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. I think manga is better than comics. Its power systems have clear rules and logic, making fights more strategic and consistent and better storytelling. I mean, okay, so it's not even fucking remotely close. The one thing I will say is that, because I used to read I wasn't an avid comic reader, but my thing would be, there's a Barnes & Noble near my house. If I would like going over there, walking to the Barnes & Noble. This is back when Barnes & Nobles used to have armchairs and things like that. I think they started to do away with that in the past decades or so. But it was nice to I would go straight to the comic section. I used to read, it would depend, because like I was also a big young adult fantasy reader and everything like that too. So there'd be times that there's a particular book that I'm trying to read or something like that. But many a time it was just like I would go pull out a Batman comic. My things were basically I liked Batman comics or Superman Batman comics. There was like a long time run of Superman Batman comics that was pretty popular back when I was reading. It was like Superman Batman, yeah, like it was it the Jeff Jones run or something? Jeff Loeb. Yeah. Jeff Loeb. Yeah. Yeah, he would write a comic series like Did he write the whole Superman Batman comic series or whatever? It was basically just like continuing Superman Batman adventures or whatever. And I would read those quite a bit. I would read Justice League. I almost never read Marvel. I don't think I liked Marvel. Yeah, I remember all of these. Public Enemies, Supergirl. I didn't read all of these. Absolute Power. Yeah. Anyway, and then Batman, I would read the long, what was it? Long Halloween, things like that. Lots of random Batman comics too. Some are really shitty. Like some are him fighting like random like monster men or stuff like that. There's like anyway, Superman comics I didn't read much of. I think I read like Superman, like the Imperiex stuff, like when he's fighting that guy. But anyway, I would read comics. I wasn't like a huge comics person, but I would read comics. And then I was also somebody that would like to go and like Wikipedia lots of stuff about comics, or like learn stuff from Comic Vine and everything. Comics are, I don't think comic fans even debate this. I think what comic fans will argue is that if you step outside of the mainstream like DC Marvel stuff, then there are things that comics can offer that manga maybe don't. So, like, Watchmen's the one that everybody knows, right? But for good reason, because I read Watchmen and it was genuinely, like, reading Watchmen is genuinely mind-blowing because you realize how far you can go with the medium of graphic novel. Like, you know how people get like particularly, snippy with like, it's not a comic, it's a graphic novel or whatever. When it comes to Watchmen, it genuinely feels like that. And I'm sure there's like a plethora of other great graphic novels that I don't know if that exist, and Watchmen's just the one that everybody knows about. Not debating that. I'm not pretending to be an expert. I'm just saying I read Watchmen. Watchmen, it just changes your whole perspective on how this medium can be used. A simple example is just like in Watchmen, there's like an ongoing, like, the layers of storytelling are just fucking insane. They, like, as all of the events are taking place, it goes like macro, micro, micro, micro. As all of the main story events are unfolding, you have other stories taking place, like, in a micro version that sort of are representative of the themes and ideas taking place on the broader scale. So, for example, and this stuff is completely lost in the film. The film just hits all the action points and the cool moments. So, for example, there's, if I'm remembering, I might be butchering this. While all the main events of the film are going, or of the film, sorry, the story are going, the comic book are going. We keep cutting back to, I believe it's like a guy at like a magazine stand or a newspaper stand or something like that. I might be mistaken, and he's reading a separate short story, like a separate comic or a novel or something like that. And we'll just cut for a full chapter to, within the graphic novel, read this other story, like the novel or comic inside the comic, totally different storyline. And for the longest time, and like we'll just keep cutting back to this shit. And for the longest time, you have no fucking idea, like, why we're like cutting back to this story within the story or whatever. It's not relevant to the plot. It's not a character. The character reading it is not relevant to the plot. It's just random shit. But then as you go further, then you begin to realize like how all of the themes of the main story are being reflected in this as well, and the perspective that it adds to it, and the depth and nuance that it adds to what the main events of the plot are telling. And that's just like, it might not make sense. It might not sound like the most mind-blowing thing, just me explaining it to you. But to me, that's just a small example. Like, there's so many different layers of storytelling that Watchmen is hitting, and it gets so out there with, not crazy out there, but like, it gets so creative with how you can introduce ideas into the story and how you can hit different characters or different like little corners of this narrative to bring something else out, or how you can switch entirely to narration or internal monologues, things like that. It's just really, 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 like, that's something that you're not going to get in a manga, at least no manga that I've read. And the reason for that is because manga, ultimately, the holdup for the thing that would hold back manga from that is just that time. So even like a phenomenal manga like Berserk, right? It has to be published monthly, right? Hunter x Hunter has to be published weekly. Even though the authors can take time and really take breaks, I mean, you can see, like, when the Hunter x Hunter author got a lot of time to take breaks, then he comes back with chapters that are so much more dense in terms of like how much thought and story, like creative layers of storytelling he's thinking, right? It's kind of the same with the graphic novel, where Watchmen is something, it's something that, because it's coming out as like all as a single coherent work, there is so much more time and planning and thinking that can go into all of the layers of how everything fits together. Whereas manga will always be held back to some degree by the continuing nature of it, in that, like, once the story is going, like, you can't just craft it all in one go and then just lay it down and like just do draft after draft till it's perfect. You have to keep putting out new chapter, without just being able to step back and just make something that's perfect from the beginning, and then just put it out there. So that's the one area that I would say, like, maybe graphic novels have the advantage. Like, for example, Bone, which I have over here. Bone, the author got to, like, create, I think, 9 different comics, right? And then publish them one at a time. And then that creates the full omnibus of Bone. But because the author's getting to do that, there's just more time, more thought. Like, it's the same way that, like, there can be a lot more time and thought that goes into writing, like, a fantasy novel or something like that, right? There's no plot holes in Bone. There's no points that it feels rushed. There's no forgotten threads. Everything syncs together, builds together perfectly. All of the themes, ideas, characters, the world, it all plays out basically flawlessly. Right? I'm not saying Bone's the best story ever. I'm just saying that from, like, a technical perspective, everything is fucking tight as fuck, right? Because there's just more time and you get to do so many more drafts, etc. before. You're not having to do month after month, week after week. And it's not like once Bone is started, it just has to keep putting out chapter and then chapter, even with hiatuses and stuff. Like, it's not like it has to be like manga that can take hiatuses and stuff. Even then, they're still kind of confined to a certain pace of storytelling that they have to stick to, whereas graphic novels don't. So I know this question started off with like, why is manga just better than comics? I think it's just like, it's not even a question that manga is 100% better than a typical Marvel DC comics. It just is. But I guess it just flipped around into me arguing why, like, there are certain, like, if you step outside of Marvel and DC, there are certain, graphic novels, things like that, like, where there's a lot of time, thought, effort put into it, that it can do things that manga really can't. I will always say, though, that in terms of, like, truly long form storytelling, manga will always be the best. Yeah. Or if you have like a short form manga where like the author really gets to think out their full concept and then just execute it in one stretch of chapters without having to like drag on a long story, like Fire Punch. Like Fire Punch is like a similar level of genius to like Watchmen. That's not going to be the case for like any manga where you have to keep putting out a very long running story. So there's just strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, like typical Marvel and DC comics, it's just never going to be as good as manga because it literally can't be when the characters are never yours, right? The characters are never yours. They're always like, the characters are shared between you and like 50 different other authors who are all coming up with their own storylines and their own like narratives and their own spins on it. And the characters are never truly allowed to grow and change over an extended period of time because Batman will always ultimately need to be Batman. And then once he strays maybe too far in a certain direction or something, everything's being rebooted, right? No consistency, no truly unifying vision. It's a million different visions throwing things at the wall. What do I think would be cool for Batman? What do I think would be cool for Batman? Spinning the same fucking... and like, the tricky thing is you have to work with the same cast of characters over and over again, right? Batman's never going to have a more iconic villain than the Joker. So if you're an author picking up writing Batman, then at some point or another, like, you have to accept that the villain that people are going to love the most is the fucking Joker, and now you have to try and redo storylines with the Joker for, like, the 8,000th time, right? Like, you got to reinvent the wheel for the millionth time. There are times that, you can introduce new villains and stuff like that can manage to stick, and can make an impact, like the Court of Owls. People loved when the Court of Owls became a thing, because it was a fresh sort of villain for Batman that actually stuck and took a hold of, like, the fandom to some degree. But that shit's hard. In general, it's just, you're playing with the same toys over it. It's literally like, you get so many different writers, they're all handed the same set of toys, and it's like, okay, your turn. You play with these toys and you come up with a story. And it's like almost like a yes and game. It's like, and then Batman does this, and then this, and then this, and this is the way the story is going, etc. And, like, I get to do my whole run of Batman. And then it's like, okay, nice, Johnny. Now it's your turn, little Timmy. You take the toys from Johnny, and now you do some shit with Batman, and you get to play with the toys. And it's like, okay, so fuck everything the other guy did. This is how Batman's written, and this is bling, boom, bam, this is how the toys go. And it's just like, it literally cannot compare to manga because... like, the writers, it's not even a question about the writers. The writers can be fucking amazing. It's just the fucking universe and set of characters that they're forced to play with are not theirs. They're not their own. What's going to be better? Oda getting to think from childhood a vision of, like, this unique world, like a world and cast of characters that's unique to him, right? A world of pirates led by this protagonist, uniquely envisioned by Oda, named Monkey D. Luffy, the characters that he is going to meet along the way, all of these new creations that all fit into this story that he wants to tell. Is that going to be better? Or you're a DC writer, let's say incredibly talented or whatever, but whatever visions you have, you kind of have to take the pieces that a million other people have worked on before, and you now have to try and, like, take whatever good stories you have in your mind and make the existing pieces work with in that framework, right? You're not getting to come forward and be like, this is the new protagonist, new hero. And, like, there are new heroes that are introduced, but they're never going to, like, replace the iconic ones. So you have to basically acknowledge that that's going to be the case, right? It's like the best you can do is introduce, like, Robin number 59 or something like that, and maybe that's your baby or something like that, but you still have to play with the Gotham framework, and you can't change too much, and you're working in this pre-established universe, and if you change too much, then everything gets rebooted. So general Marvel and DC stuff, like, even though there are some gems in terms of the comics, because again, the writers are very, very talented. It's not like, oh my god, Japan just has way more talented writers than DC than America or something like that. It's nothing like that, okay? It's just that what they're forced to play with, not with their own toys and not with their lasting visions, and having to basically work with what everybody else is also throwing at the wall. It's just inherently not going to be as clean as a mangaka coming up with like a singular story that they've thought out, with a singular cast of characters that are theirs, and like character arcs, etc., that they want to implement, and then they're allowed to do all that, and it's allowed to stick and just be a complete story. So yeah. Anyway. I've heard that they're going to go Court of Owls for the current Batman universe, and I definitely think that would be a really, really good route. I think that's the perfect route. I don't think we need to go super villainy with the current Batman universe. When I came out of the Superman movie, my initial thought was I liked the Superman movie more than the Batman. But now that's like when you're walking out of the theater and like your emotions are on a high. Now that I've had a little bit of time, I'm like, no, the Batman movie was just like, it's a phenomenally directed movie. Like the atmosphere, the general feel, the suspense in certain scenes, it's a phenomenal film. It feels very, very, very deeply immersive in the world of Gotham. I love that. It's a very it brings the comic book world of Batman to life. I don't think that these two should cross over, because I've always felt that when I've read comics, right, reading a Batman comic taking place in Gotham with just Batman, again, like you can go with the generic ones like Long Halloween or whatever, and those are generic, but they're generic for a reason, which is that it just feel like it has a very, very unique vibe. That feels fundamentally like a whole different world and different character almost than the one that appears in the Justice League. Like once you take Batman in the Justice League, it's like he's almost forced to be written into something that he's not normally. Like it just takes all the grounded aspect out of it. He becomes this like super genius, whereas in Gotham he just needs to be like a good detective, like a very good detective or whatever. But he becomes a super genius inventor and things like that. Whereas in Gotham, like, Bane is a challenge for him. Once he's with the Justice League, he'll be, like, fucking taking out Cheetah and shit like that. Like, it's no problem. Or all sorts of high-level superhuman beings. It just doesn't, like, the whole vibe of the characters changed, and it feels like it fundamentally conflicts with the almost the artistry that comes with, like, what you can really get out of, like, a grounded Batman being in Gotham. I feel like the Superman movie that we just got fits the Superman vibe from comics great. I feel like the Batman movie that we got fits the Batman vibes from Batman solo comics great. My opinion has always been that the Batman solo vibes are fundamentally different than Batman when he's with Justice League, Superman, etc. Basically, like the whole tone shifts, feels like different character, different world, etc. And so I feel like it'd be better if you just kept those things separate and introduced a new Batman that works in the context of like a connected DC universe. Because the Batman film that came out, like in terms of filmmaking, it is very artistically done. And I would never say that this Superman movie that came out is like artistically done. It's cool, it's fun, but it's just a different level of like it's just a different level of filmmaking. So that's my thoughts on that. Anyway, I don't know why I'm getting so far off into that direction. Okay, I guess because you prompted a question about comics. Let me get through these. Okay. The last thing about comics versus manga is also power systems and stuff, and like that's true. It's just like because comics are written by like 50 different people, so like the power scaling on all of that stuff's gonna be all over the place. Salvador, thanks for the 2. Shiki gets dwarfed by Harold, so we know he's strong. But we already knew Harold is strong. We already knew Harold was strong. I don't know how much more we're gonna get out of Harold necessarily. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 2. 3 or more predictions right equals 20 late points. No, we're not going with this trend. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. JWP, thanks for the 5. Honestly, I think that however strong Roger was is the peak of hockey. I think the difference between him and Joy Boy is a fully mastered Nika fruit. I 100% agree with you. I think that literally, I feel like Roger is, how do I explain this? I feel like End of Story Luffy will basically be equal to Roger without the fruit. So, because like Oda's made a big deal, like he even had Kaido make a big deal about how like Roger became the conqueror of the pirate world or whatever through hockey alone. I do think that Roger will just be the peak of hockey. And Luffy's set to basically match that peak in terms of hockey, but then also have the fruit, which makes him something even further beyond, which makes him basically, Joy Boy level or whatever. I mean, we even got the sense that like Joy Boy's hockey, as insane as it was, isn't something like that's not capable of being matched by characters that we know today. In the sense that like the giants, Dory and Brogy, were like, we can't tell, is that stronger than Shanks's or not? It was ambiguous to them, which suggests that it's it's not like even though Joy Boy's hockey is stronger than like the characters that we've seen flex their hockey, generally speaking, like, the Gorosei, Kaido, Big Mom, presumably Emu, etc. It sounds like it's not like, it could be like tied at the top with other characters' hockey, right? Like a Joy Boy, maybe Shanks apparently not too far behind, things like that, right? But Luffy's gonna have the full package, which will just make him a different level. No Hut Lupilov, thanks for bringing Yonko to your member for 2 months. Emo possessing Gunko kills rocks at God Valley. What? That's insane. I don't know if that's gonna happen like next chapter. I can put it down. Emo possessing Gunko kills rocks at God Valley. That would be insane if that's how Rocks was eliminated. No Hut Lupilov. I do wonder why Emu didn't kill Rocks right then and there when he came to the flower room, but I guess that's just, it's supposed to be cool. TDA says, so what's the difficulty on End of Story Luffy versus Prime Roger? I think it would still be high difficulty. But it wouldn't be... Because ultimately, hockey matters more than the fruit. But at the end of the day, Luffy would be equal to Roger just straight up, but also having the fruit. Like, the fruit is still very strong, so there's just no way that Roger could win. King G, thanks for the 2. We get some Kaido lore from him being on the crew. I want to say that's almost too generic because we know Kaido's going to show up next chapter, but you know what? We're still early in the prediction, so I put it down. We get some Kaido lore. Prophet Glutton, thanks for bringing Yonko to your member for 3 months. End of Story Luffy will be Joy Boy level. End of Story Zoro will be Ryuma level. What will End of Story Sanji's equivalent be? Judge. I'm just kidding. I think there's no answer I can give that wouldn't be like extremely controversial. Especially because like it depends on how people view End of Story Ryuma. I don't think Sanji will be... I think Sanji will be Yonko tier, personally, End of Story. That's what I will say. I think he'll be Yonko level. Like, I think Sanji, End of Story, beats any Admiral in a fight. We separate Akainu from the Admirals because we don't know if Akainu got a Conqueror's Haki boost or whatever. Or got a Haki bloom over the course of the time skip. We don't know. But, yeah, I think Sanji would be Yonko level, End of Story. if I were to break down how I vaguely see the tiers right now, it's really fucking difficult because I would like some more clarity on. Okay, so let me give you guys a picture of how I think about it. Like, okay, so here we go. Here, okay, how I used to see the tiers. Okay, I used to see the tiers something like Pirate King level. So like Roger, Whitebeard, Garp, something like that. This is before we, I guess, yeah, Rocks, right? Rocks, Garp, right? This is how I vaguely used to see the levels, right? Then I imagine that this was like Yonko level, so like a tier below, which was like, you know, there's our current guys, right? Like our Shanks, Dragon, Kaido, Mihawk, Big Mom, stuff like that, right? That's how I kind of saw it. And then, you know, maybe an Akainu or something like that, you know. And then I kind of saw admirals as being below, like there's our Kizaru's, you know, Kizaru, Fujitora, etc. Okay? So that's how I used to see it. Now I am curious about how much overlap there is between these two groups. Because, I don't know, like, characters like Shanks, Dragon, many would argue Mihawk, there's the potential for them to be, like, in the... So there's certain things I feel confident about. I feel like Big Mom, who just fucking was getting some of her shit kicked in by fucking, like, Kid and Law and shit, and getting rolled off the island by, like, Jinbei and Robin. I don't believe that she belongs in the same group as these characters, and I don't believe that the stories ever suggested that she does. At the same time, we saw that Kaido and Big Mom are basically portrayed to be about equal, like they fought to draw. Okay, so I'm like, okay, so I still feel like these characters are just a level above, but we're getting to a point where I'm like, I wonder if the characters Oda's been saving, like Shanks, Dragon, Mihawk, are they closer to this level than we expected? Does it all actually just blend together? You know? Like, Dragon Oda's been saving for so fucking long. Oda showed us Rocks fighting before Dragon. Could Dragon be, like, here? You know? Oda compared Joy Boy's haki to fucking Shanks. And he had it through fucking credible sources like Dory Brogy, who have seen 100 years worth of, like, top-tier pirates, like Harold, Roger, like Prime Roger, Prime Rayleigh, etc., right? So, like, does that mean Shanks is in here? And if Shanks is in here, then Mihawk's probably in here, right? So then it's just like, what even is Yonko level? That like it's you know. So that's now I'm not sure, and now I think we just need to see more. That's also why like my current top 30 list or whatever, it's very very speculative. Okay, like very speculative. I could see so many characters on that list like swapping spots. I would never have guessed like fucking Loki's dad. I'd be putting I have Loki's dad in Pirate King tier now, right? So it's just like if fucking Loki's dad's in Pirate King tier though, and then Loki beat Harold. We don't know the circumstances or if it even happened, but supposedly Loki beat Harold, and then Shanks beat Loki. It's like, okay, so should I have Shanks up there? And then if Shanks is up there, I should probably have Mihawk up there too, right? And then fuck it, then Dragon should be up there. And then it's like, wait, so is Yonko level just fucking Kaido and Big Mom? I don't know, that doesn't feel right either. So it's just got me. We need a lot more context. We need a lot more context. Oda's hiding a lot, basically. So when you ask, the question that prompted my long response was like, if End of Story Luffy's Joy Boy's level, End of Story Zoro will be Ryuma level, what will End of Story Sanji's equivalent be? The way I view it is basically like, I feel like End of Story Luffy is going to be, yeah, Joy Boy level. So cut above, like, he'll be ahead of Roger, Whitebeard, etc., right? I could see end of story Zoro being in the same tier as like at absolute best. I could see end of story Zoro being in what I consider to be Pirate King level. So like, you know, in the same tier as Roger, Whitebeard, stuff like that. That's where I kind of see Zoro topping out. I think that there's an argument that end of story Zoro could be equal to end of story Luffy without Luffy's fruit. I could see that being the case. I think at lowest, Zoro would be Yonko level. I think at highest, I put him in the Pirate King level. Okay, so with Zoro, I view Luffy. We kind of know there's a absolute. We know that he's gonna be Joy Boy level, right? Unless something goes drastically wrong or something, Luffy's gonna be Joy Boy level, right? So Luffy's done. Zoro, I think, is the range. I think Zoro's got that little bit of range where I could see him like lowest Yonko, highest in the same tier as like Roger, Whitebeard, stuff like that. With Sanji, I feel like the range for him, I don't think, maybe Sanji fans will get upset. I don't think end of story Sanji will be Roger, Whitebeard level. I think Sanji's range is more like, at lowest, he's like High Admiral level, like he can beat Kizaru or something like that. And that's like at the lowest. And then I think the highest, he's like Yonko level, like he can beat someone like Big Mom. So I think to me, that's Sanji's range. So I kind of have a range for both Zoro and Sanji. So like, this is just how I view the character. I'm like, Zoro could be at lowest Yonko level, highest Pirate King tier. Sanji I view lowest. He's like High Admiral level. Highest, he's Yonko level. And then Luffy is Joy Boy level or whatever. That's kind of how I feel it right now. So yeah, I don't know. And I think that's kind of going to be the case just because I think throughout the story, Zoro fans consistently and Sanji fans consistently argue like, you know, is Zoro in a separate tier than Sanji, or are they like neck and neck, right? And I think that's like it's the same way the argument is today, right? Which is like Zoro, like some people argue that Sanji's like Yonko second commander level, whereas Zoro's like above first mate level or something, and then some people argue that Zoro and Sanji are both basically first mate level or above first mate level, you know? So I don't know. Very speculative. Showtime 50K, thanks for the 5. We see Harold break his horns and context as to why. Oh, that'd be sick. Yeah, I forgot that shit's coming. I feel like that'll be a really iconic scene. I think whenever Oda hypes up a scene in advance, like he hyped up Odin's death, like he literally had the Straw Hats in chapter like 920 and stuff being like, oh my god, that's what happened to him and stuff like that. Then the scene usually delivers. Okay. We see Harold break his horns and get context as to why. Dare Boppler, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months, man. Prediction, we learned that Kaido is the son of Harold. Oh, that'd be good. Also, do you think you could have a form of Conqueror's Haki usable only to protect a woman? That would Sanji could have a. Do you think Sanji could have a form of Conqueror's Haki usable only to protect a woman? That could be really funny, because it's like he can't fight at full potential unless like Nami's in danger or something like that. I don't know. That'd be because Sanji's whole demeanor does change when there's like a woman at stake. So maybe that's a unique twist that Oda goes with. I think that'd be cool. Let's get the streamlights up to 150 real quick. I like the idea that we learned that Kaido's the son of Harold. I would love that. Why do I like that, even though I generally don't like every character being the son of some important character? That makes Loki Yamato's uncle. I don't know. I don't know why. I just find that cool for some reason. I don't know. I think because I'm just liking Harold. And because I'm liking Harold, I just like anything that gives him further relevance in the story. And I think it makes like the Loki Kaido parallels interesting, and I'm interested to see if like they ever interacted or anything like that. It's funny because Kaido is technically the younger brother by age. I believe he would be the younger brother by age. Yeah. And but Loki would be the younger brother by actual like maturity and development. Mo, thanks for the 5. Prediction. Rock states that he's going to God Valley to get the Ope Ope no Mi after capturing Pirate Island because of the statement of power not lasting. Ooh. Rock says he's going to God Valley to get the Ope Ope no Mi. That's an interesting call. Let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. Paul, thanks for the 5. Do you think anime and manga can be successfully transitioned into live-action films like the DCEU and Marvel Comics have been over the years? Okay, so one thing you got to remember is that part of the reason... So, in general, why are superhero films popular in America? The reason that superhero films are in general, superheroes, right? Like, in manga, when you have stories, like this is a cultural thing, okay? So let's take a big step back here because I do think this is an interesting discussion, okay? In Japan, anime and manga, it's like anything goes. You can have you can plant any sort of fantasy, sci-fi, spirit world, whatever the fuck you want, and as long as the premise is good, people will roll with it. Not just like kids, but like lots of adult shonen readers and stuff like that too, right? Like One Piece, magical pirate fantasy world, right? Naruto, story about like ninja villages and everything like that. Bleach, everybody fucking is dead and their spirits fighting as like soul reapers in like a made up fantasy spirit realm or something like that, right? With swords that transform into like swords that like have power-ups that can have multiple forms and things like that, right? With Marvel and DC, and just in general, comics for Americans, period, right? One, historically, they have been more a kid's thing, right? There are obviously adult comic readers, there always have been, but historically, it's not like in Japan where it's commonplace in culture for like adults to be, like for decades, for adults to also be reading, watching anime and stuff like that. In America, for the longest time, before like the last couple decades, like nerd culture, like adult nerd culture was like very much laughed at, and like you shouldn't be reading comics past the time you're a kid or whatever, right? That's the first sign, number one, of the cultural difference. Because number two, the comics that are popular, right, are all somewhat grounded in the sense that they're just superpowered people placed in the context of the real world. Like superheroes are the only comic genre that's really successful in the United States because it's only one step detached from the real world. It's just like, okay, like everything's the same. We live in cities, real world environments and stuff, but like that guy has super strength or like fire or something like that. Or like they've got lots of gadgets, like they're like Batman, or like that guy's like a cyborg, right? It's what it's asking of the reader is not that much of a leap in terms of like giving into a sense of fantasy. It's just like taking our current world and moving it one iota over, where it's like, what if some people had superpowers, right? And even this is viewed as almost childish. It was viewed as childish for like decades and decades, right, in American culture, right? So even asking for that level of like giving into a sense of fantasy was viewed as childish in American culture, okay? Whereas in Japan, it's like, for the longest time, anything fucking goes, right? Like, you got alien martial arts fighters in, like, Dragon Ball Z or whatever. Obviously, like, Bleach, Demon Slayers, like, and Japanese people are very willing to indulge in, like, deep, intricate, nitty-gritty, like, super hardcore, nerdy, fantasy made-up power systems. Like, just read Jujutsu Kaisen, read Hunter x Hunter with Nen and everything. Like, in the US, even with comic book characters that are superheroes, right? Like, one, grounded in the real world, just people in the real world that have powers, and two, nothing complicated, right? Spider-Man, it's not like some crazy complicated power system. He can flip, do acrobatics, spidey senses, tingling, shoot webs and stuff like that, right? It's not asking people to get very in-depth, nitty-gritty into understanding a whole power system, or like, it's a low level of it's a low-level magic. It's the lowest level magic systems that you could ask for, right? So you got to understand that, like, in American culture, even though now anime is becoming more popular, like people are opening their minds more to that stuff, even though people are now opening their minds more to that stuff, the reality is like the prevailing comics culture that has existed in America so far is generally real world with some superpower stuff thrown in there, basically, right? It's so far away from like the extreme concepts that Japanese stories and everything get into. Even if you want to get into like fantasy stuff, right? Like the fantasy stuff that's like very successful lately is like Game of Thrones, which is also very grounded. It feels more like medieval stuff. It doesn't try to teach you any sort of complicated magic stuff. It doesn't get into very high concept, like totally different sort of worlds. Like it's more like just what if everything was medieval, but there were dragons, right? Even Lord of the Rings, right? The Lord of the Rings films that became popular, while they did use like elven languages and everything like that, it still felt very much like an epic medieval story with bits of fantasy in there. There's not like very complex like magic battles and stuff like that in Lord of the Rings. Most of it's sword fighting and sword action. You got a little bit of flying stuff here and there. You get a demon thrown in there. But if you get the trend that I'm saying, that I'm getting at, is that generally in Western American media, the general populace's tolerance and like willingness to dip their toe into like fantasy is it almost always needs to be like tied to a grounded sense of reality in a way, okay? Whereas you just look at like the One Piece live action, the One Piece live action is so much more like insanely fantastical, cartoonish, fairy tale like than anything in like Western popular live action stuff, right? And the only reason One Piece gets away with it is because it's One Piece, which is already meant to strike like a fairly cartoony vibe. So it's kind of like you can read all these wacky zany powers and like strange magical world stuff, and it's kind of like, well, it's all like a little bit tongue-in-cheek, right? That's kind of how the live action played it, right? It is so much easier to take a concept like Superman and adapt it to live action in a way that's palatable to American audiences, and that it's just like, it's like a guy that can fly, hit things really hard. He fights another guy that flies and hits things really hard, right? Even like the Marvel comics, like they've had to take a lot of the more fantastical concepts and like water it down to make everything a bit more grounded. Like Thor and the Asgardians, they're not actually gods or whatever. Like they're more so portrayed as aliens. All of their magic stuff is toned down. Same with Doctor Strange. Like if you see like if you dip your toe into Doctor Strange comics, things get really fucking wacky and bizarre and out there. But adapted to live action American stuff, it's all got to be very grounded, very tame. Strange is mainly a dude that creates portals and at points does some time shenanigans, and then like some very, it all just has to feel more mass appealy to American audiences. Whereas anime and manga just goes so deep into its like magical, crazy worlds with like so much complex magic systems and like fights that are so in-depth and over-dramatic and everything like that, right? It's very, very different. So that's a very, very long way of saying that like it is very hard to take what makes anime and adapt it in live action format while still keeping all of the spirit of anime in a way that's going to be palatable to mass American audiences. Like, you know how people talk a lot about how Marvel humor that's like making fun of itself, it's like it's gotten too cringy at this point. It's like, why can't Marvel movies just like commit to like just being superhero movies? Why do they always have to like make fun of themselves or like joke about like their superhero names being corny or like just poking fun at like the concept of just even being superheroes itself, right? It does it because at the end of the day, that plays to a wider audience because there are lots of filmgoers who are not really into the superhero stuff. So you need to tone everything down, and you need like the movies need to basically joke about themselves a little bit. Like they have to almost act like, we know it's superheroes and this stuff is silly, but let's all just go along with it, right? Like that's why Marvel humor has become a thing that like at one point was what actually really made Marvel kind of blow up. It was one of the main things. Like the fact that like it's found a way to make a superhero universe actually feel palatable to a large amount of Americans. And like a big part of it is that like it tries not to take the superhero aspect too seriously, right? Same thing with like the Dark Knight, very very fucking grounded, realistic version of Batman that played to wide popularity with a lot of people, right? Um, I don't know if you can take anime and like put it in like through the filter of like Marvel humor, where it's like fucking Jujutsu Kaisen, and then every 10 seconds it's having to make fun of the fact that like we're getting like 50 layers deep into like how Jujutsu sorcery and cursed energy and all of that stuff works, or like Nen having to make fun of all of its concepts all the time, or like all of that stuff, right? Like, do you guys get what I'm saying? I still think that like it's very hard to take anime and what makes anime and translate it over to American audiences in a way that like they don't find it silly, and vice versa. The anime doesn't have to cut a lot of its concepts just to make it feel like a little bit more real and grounded and all of that stuff. Like, it's why the Dragon Ball Z movie, as far as I know, fucking featured Goku going to high school or some dumbass shit, you know? Yeah. So I think that that's something that could change over time. I think this needs time, because one thing that's happening right now is anime is becoming more popular with the newer generation of people in the West, in America. I know I talk about America a lot. I know not all of you are American. In fact, like, based on my viewer statistics, like, only 40% of my viewers are American. But I can only talk from what I know, right? So this is my experience in the West. And, like, it's just what I observe seeing movies and everything like that. I think the Superman movie that came out recently is one of the few superhero movies I can think of that was like unapologetically a superhero movie, right? So that's a step forward. Like, it's like it plays into the whole thing. Like, Superman's got a fucking like super dog. There's a super dog in the movie that also wears a fucking cape and stuff and flies around and fights crime with Superman, right? That would have been viewed as silly 10 years ago. I mean, we know it would have. That's why they went the route that they did with Man of Steel. I think people are opening things up. The Boys is an exception. No, The Boys is very, very, like, The Boys is like such a grounded superhero. It's almost the epitome of what I'm talking about, which is like real world, but filtered through what if superheroes were real, right? That's it. The Boys is not an exception. The Boys is literally what I am talking about. Anyway. Anyway, continuing on. One Piece, One Life. Thanks for the 5. My bad for the confusion. Earlier I meant, have you used Google Ads or anything like that yourself? Appreciate the shout out space though. Oh, Google Ads? Yeah. But not, I've used Google Ads a lot for business stuff, which has been on the back burner for a little bit. But I used to, like, last year I was using it extensively. Before YouTube became my main thing, I had to do Google Ads. Like, that was one of the main things that I did for clients. So I was good at Google Ads pre-pandemic and a bit during the pandemic. I went back to Google Ads, like trying to do them for plumbers actually last year, 2024, and they've changed things and it's become clearly more competitive, at least in that niche. But I had a lot more difficulty getting success with Google Ads for clients this last year that I tried it, so I had to drop it. But I do have like a lot of experience running Google Ads and everything like that. What was your original question? Let me look at your original question. Maybe I'll understand what you're getting at then. Oh, do I do Google Ads for? Oh, have experience with ads / channel or video promos? We've never run ads for the channel, if that's what you're saying. Are you saying Google Ads for things in general? Google is in general a very, very strong tool to try to get people to buy things. But are you saying like running Google Ads for the posters or anything? No. Largely because we can reach a large audience organically just through videos and streams and everything like that. But I do have experience with Google Ads. Also, Google Ads are generally good for high intent So if you have something that people would organically want to search for, like you know, like plumbers, like electricians, things like that, right? What are people typing in? Like, I need a haircut, things like that, right? That's what Google ads are good for. If you have things that people are not going to be actively searching for as much, like One Piece Island posters, Google ads aren't as strong. Facebook ads, Instagram ads are a lot stronger for that. There's not a lot of people going into Google. Like, there might be people going into Google and typing in like One Piece posters, but then like specifically they're looking for One Piece Island posters, One Piece travel posters. That's maybe a non-existent populace, you know? Facebook is generally good for putting a billboard in front of people. So like, hey, we have this thing. Did you know about this thing? If you're interested in this. Google ads are good for if somebody already wants something, then you want to be the first thing that's showing up when they're searching for it. JWP, thanks for the... okay, wait, we covered this. Goomba Boomba, thanks for the 2. Superman was the most feel-good comic movie I've seen. Is it the most feel-good comic movie I've seen? It was a very feel-good comic movie. Honestly, like, there's Marvel movies that I felt were very feel-good in the past. Let me see. Like, okay. Let's look up best superhero movies of all time. Let's just see. So what are some good-ass superhero movies from the past? Superman might be the most feel-good. I feel like Spider-Man 2 was really strong. I think The Incredibles, if you count that shit. Yeah, just straight up feel good. I think that there's a solid argument for me. Yeah, what are movies that I finished and I was just like, damn, I felt good watching that? Honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy is a feel-good superhero movie. Yeah. I like the Thunderbolts. I fucking like the Thunderbolts. I thought that was pretty feel-good. Yeah, I think even Deadpool Wolverine. I think Deadpool, well, I don't think it was feel good. It's kind of depressing at points. Not depressing, but it was just like a little dark at points, but so I'm just browsing. Yeah, definitely Superman was a movie that was made to make you feel good. And I think it definitely succeeded in that vein. Um Trying to see if there's something I'm specifically forgetting. Yeah, I guess so. That's kind of sad because, like, shouldn't there be a lot of superhero movies that are competing for the best feel good superhero movie? Because I feel like they should all be trying to make you feel good, you know? Not all of them, obviously, sorry, but like a lot of them, they should be generally, you know, you should be watching the superhero movies because, like, they make you feel good in a way, right? Yeah. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 2. If one of your mods gets a prediction right equals 20 points. Fuck no, then I just won't accept predictions from mods. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Got any theories on Buggy and Captain John's treasure? I mean, aside from the common one that everybody has, which is like, I'm on board with Buggy being Rox's son at this point. I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know if that's just a funny thing by Oda, and that's not actually supposed to be anything significant. I have no idea. Henchme976, thanks for the 5. Once Sanji gets Conqueror's Haki, he will use it like Ashura to grow a third leg, thus living up to his name, Blackleg. Also fitting that Conqueror's Haki, that cock becomes a third leg. All right, funny stuff. We're going to move past that. Tom, thanks for the 5. Can you please do another power scaling stream with Brago and King of Lightning? The last one is still one of your funny streams to date. Also, I send tier list later. Oh, thanks for preparing the tier list, man. I really appreciate it. Tom did a phenomenal job, like, putting together... so there's a tier list that we're gonna be doing on Monday, which is a fun one. He did a phenomenal job preparing like all the options for it. So just everybody say thanks to Tom in advance. Obviously, say thanks again on Monday, but yeah, he was just you've been really helpful, man. Power scaling stream with Brago and King of Lightning. Maybe. I think I'll probably be seeing both of them at Anime NYC probably this month, assuming I'm able to go. So maybe I can talk about it with them then. I was actually supposed to talk to Brago somewhat recently, like in the last few weeks. It was like, I think we rescheduled like twice, and then we never ended up, because I think like one time, it was just to catch up, and then one time he was busy, then one time I was busy, and then we're like, okay, we'll just figure out a time, and then we never did. So that's another thing, which is just that like, I feel like the one thing about like scheduling collabs is that I don't want to stream outside of the times that I've set up for myself to stream, just for like life scheduling purposes. So anytime, like, it's part of the reason I've cut down on doing collabs, because it can just be a hassle to schedule with other people to make sure a time that fits both you and their time. And then the other secret is that, like, if very often, if you do a collab with somebody on your channel, it is then obviously the polite thing to do, then at some point do a collab with them on their channel. So you're basically signing up for like two things that might be outside of your usual schedule. So it's not that I don't like other people, obviously. It's just that, like, scheduling wise, it can be, I don't have the most high incentive to do it. But I'll see. I might talk to him at the Anime NYC and see about that. Emperor Beast Kaido, thanks for the 5. What difficulty would Roger versus Big Mom be in your opinion? To me, it would be extreme high diff, contrary to popular belief. I genuinely think that Roger versus... I personally think that, like, we are further off from seeing the peak of One Piece. Like, I think that Roger can do, hockey-wise, the same things that Joy Boy's Hockey Knot could do. A.K.A. Roger's hockey being significantly leaps and bounds better than Kaido and Big Mom. That's my personal feeling. I think Roger is a full tier above Kaido and Big Mom. I think even the way that Kaido talks about Roger and stuff like that suggests that to be the case. Yeah, I think he's a full tier above Kaido and Big Mom. I don't think it'd be like low diff personally, but yeah, I just don't think it would be like a significant challenge for Roger for him to fight either of them. Dick so small I piss on my balls, thanks for the 5. Bakin was stealing technology / information from Vegapunk / the world government for rocks. Maybe how he learned about Kaido. Oh, interesting. 4 rocks. Maybe how he learned about Kaido. Okay, I'm going to put that down. Bakin was stealing tech / info from the government for rocks. Elijah Caesar Collins, thanks a lot for the 2. Thanks for the additional 2. Where would you put Luffy now? I put... Sorry. I put Gear 5th Luffy. Like, when Luffy is in Gear 5th, I put him basically at equal to Kaido. I'm basing that off of their final fight at their final round of their fight at Onigashima. They were both established to be at extremely low health when the Gear 5th round started. It was actually established that Luffy was even lower health than Kaido at that point. And Luffy did well against Kaido, and he basically got the better of him. I would say, but obviously you could say a million things by context there. So I would say that in Gear 5th, I consider Luffy to be equal to Kaido. In Gear 5th, when Luffy is actually like trying and not fucking around, like he was against like Lucci or against Kizaru round 1, right? When Luffy's actually trying in Gear 5th, because you got to remember the Nika fruit also influences Luffy's personality. But as we've seen, like once Luffy's like somewhat like trying to win the fight in Gear 5th, it's at least equal to Kaido. So, but the problem is the stamina, the time limit thing, right? And I'm actually low-key convinced that that's not going to be a thing that Luffy ever gets over. I kind of envision the end of the story being, because I feel like this is going to be a beautiful role for Sanji at the end of the story. We know that food is the thing that replenishes Gear 5th Luffy's stamina. And a big deal has been made by Oda of like how important Sanji is to Luffy's journey, how Luffy can't become Pirate King without Sanji, etc., etc. And like for Luffy as a character in particular, food does matter. I think it'd be really cool if Luffy's final fight, whoever it is against, involves Luffy continually needing to be fed by Sanji throughout the fight in order to maintain Gear 5th, right? So his strength is still his own, but his ability to maintain it is thanks to his cook. I think that would be really cool to see. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's a fun little theory or hope of mine. And yeah, so looking at Luffy's very hard to place just because, like, where would I place Gear 5th Luffy? It would be, like, right there alongside Kaido. Where do I put Luffy in general? In general, I think Luffy basically, I would average him out to Admiral level, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think he can maintain his top form long enough to beat a Yonko. By the way, I don't count Blackbeard as Yonko level. I think Luffy's beating Blackbeard straight up without Gear 5th needed right now, as Blackbeard is right now. When I talk about Yonko level, I'm talking about Kaido, Big Mom, Shanks, and them, and up, basically. I don't think Luffy's beating any of them without Gear 5th, and I think even in Gear 5th, he can't maintain that form long enough to actually beat them, but in Gear 5th, he can go toe-to-toe with most anybody, I think. Not literally anybody, like probably not Emu, but I think he can be a good challenge for anybody in Gear 5th, and I would put him like in Gear 5th, I'd say his fighting ability is equal to Kaido. Yeah, but if you just say overall who are the strongest characters that Luffy can beat in a fight, time limit included, it would be Admirals, but I don't think he's got the stamina to take down Yonko in that period of time. That's my personal feeling. Dick so small I piss on my balls, thanks for the 5. We learn why Loki loves Lola and see Shanks defeat him. Not a prediction, but I think Shanks cheated. Maybe. We see why Loki loves Lola. I keep forgetting about that storyline. We see why Loki loves Lola. And we see Shanks defeat him. Tofi, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 32 months. Yo, Morge, is there any unexpected twist you expect for the story going on? Nice drawings you have back there. Where should I get some? Excellent question. You can get these beautiful version 2s that we have, these new versions that we have of the islands, new, reimagined, re-envisioned, beautiful depictions on the Morge store. We have Water 7 at night. Everyone take a moment to marvel at it. I think this is my favorite of the bunch. You get beautiful color spectrum here. It's just, I don't know, this is just a very fantastical image to me. Very evocative, the sea train and everything like that here. Straw Hats heading up to Ennis lobby with the flag burning. Alabasta sunset, Luffy being defeated by Crocodile. Strong vibes with that one. Skypiea with the Raigo coming down. Epic doomsday feel. Marineford, similar, the sea tilting. Tidal waves crashing. Baratier with Mihawk approaching, very eerie, ominous. O'Hara on fire, Zoe at sunset. You can get all of these at the Morge store. Buy 2, get 2. So if you like 2 of these, you get another 2 free. And if you happen to get 1 poster of every single island, then we will send you the moon, the unlockable poster. Final unlockable poster exclusive. We will send you that for free. Just tag us on Twitter and say that, hey, I've got 1 of each island. But thanks for asking, Tofi. So, is there any unexpected twist I expect for the story going on? Yes. Watch out for next Tuesday's video. I think that is a pretty big twist that I expect will happen. As for some unexpected twists, I mean, we were just talking earlier about like Kid maybe being Rox's son as well. Unexpected twist. I could see the world government, I don't know how unexpected this is, but I could see the world government succeeding in taking 3 road poneglyph rubbings from the Straw Hats here in this arc. I could definitely see that happening. Stretch, thanks for the 2. Rox loses eye, gains eye patch 38 to 44 years ago. That would be cool. I like that. That'd be really sick. Gotta put that down as a prediction. Rox loses eye, gains eye patch. I like that. The Book of Eli, thanks to the 5. How is Kaido Harold's kid? He would not only be bigger, he's not even giant size, he'd be younger due to the giant's aging factor as well, example Colin. So we don't know how, because Colin, the mom, was the giant, and Gaban was the dad. The argument I've seen people mention is that it's possible that things work out differently if the like genetics play out differently if the dad is the giant and the mom is the human. That's an argument that I've seen. The other thing is also that we've learned that the way that fishmen work, for example, is that like if fishmen and mermaids have a kid or whatever, you don't know if the kid's going to be a fishman or if it's going to be a mermaid. So we see that with like Arlong and Charlie being siblings, even though you would never fucking expect that, and they look nothing alike, and they seem like they're 2 totally different races, right? So there's an argument that maybe like the genes that win out could depend, right? That's just an argument. I just think it's cool as a concept. I'm not saying that it's like likely, right? I would say that the one thing that's interesting is that we don't really have any origin for Kaido that really makes sense, because Onis are just this mystic. Like, we finally got context on like the difference between giants and ancient giants, right? And I think we basically have confirmation now that Onis would be born from a hybrid between giants and ancient giants and humans, right? It seems like they're descendants of those hybrids. So it's the visual similarities, obviously, between Kaido and Harold. Then there's the fact that Harold is so fucking strong and Kaido's so strong. And just the fact that there's like very few options for Kaido's lineage of being like an Oni. And we also know that being an Oni is somewhat important in a sense, in that like Kaido talked to Yamato a bit about their lineage and how like they'll never be accepted because they're Onis. They live in Onigashima, so we know that like there's some past history to their race and the origins of their race and everything like that. We just don't know where Kaido really came from. And it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that's something that needs to be explored in the story or anything like that. But it's just interesting that like a character has popped up that could potentially be, like, in many ways it nicely fits as being the source for being Kaido's father, or like Kaido's, where Kaido came from. The other thing I'd add is just that we've also been down this route before. I like, this is not the first time that we've had One Piece theories where it's like, oh, it just makes so much sense that this character might be like the children of this character. Like, before we got to Wano, so this theory seems silly now, but before we got to Wano, this theory made a lot of sense, and it was so popular among the fandom that like people almost were like disappointed. Like, some people actually directly asked Oda if this theory was true, and he said straight up it's not, and people were disappointed. There was a theory that Katakuri, Daifuku, and Oven were the kids of Kaido and Big Mom, because they pointed out a lot of similarities, and it was like, why are these 3 kids so strong, and why in particular is Katakuri so strong? It's like the dad must have been really strong. So this is before we knew anything about Kaido and Big Mom's actual relationship. This is before we even went to Wano and found out about Kaido's actual kid, Yamato, and everything. It was just like, who's Katakuri's dad? And it was like, what if it's Kaido, right? And that was a very popular theory, that Kaido, Daifuku, and Oven were the kids of Kaido and Big Mom. And people were pointing out all sorts of visual similarities and everything. So we might just be walking. That turned out to be totally wrong. And now it feels like a silly theory, but at the time it was so convincing. We might be going down a similar path here, where it's just like, look, Kaido looks like this, and Harold looks like this, etc. And at the end of the day, it's just coincidental. But it might not be. You never know. Like, fucking Buggy does seem like he's Rox's kid. So sometimes Like Blackbeard turned out to be Rox's kid. Like sometimes things do actually connect. Yeah, we'll just wait and see. Mo, thanks for the 2. We learned Roger stole Rox's sword / style in flashback. Ooh. Are you saying sword or stole his style? Like sword style. Roger stole Rox's sword / sword style? I'll give you both. Just to be just to be lenient. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick because we're almost there. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. Prediction, chapter 1155, 44 years ago. From there, 1156 ends 41 years ago with Rox meeting Miss Marshall D. Oh, fuck, we have to fucking meet Blackbeard's mom. I fucking forgot about this shit. Oh, my God. Joke, Sabo upscale, Rox and Sabo escaped Emu. To be fair, with Rox, I feel like Emu didn't even try to catch him for some reason. So that's actually technically more Sabo upscale than anything. That's a fucking great point. I'm surprised nobody else has brought that up. I didn't even think about it. We meet Blackbeard's mom. That's something that does have to happen. That's a great point. Do you think Davy Jones was a Fishman, says Elijah Petty? Thanks for the 2. I think it's entirely possible. Fishmen in general were hyped up towards the beginning of One Piece as like this super race or whatever, like the strongest race. And they've generally sucked throughout the story. The strongest fishmen... Yeah, goddamn, the fishmen are fucking disappointing. Like, if we were to do a One Piece race tier list... I think the fishmen are the biggest bums considering the genetic advantages that they have. Is it just Jinbei? Is Jinbei really it's Jinbei or Jack? And Jack's only half fishman. So you could argue it's his fucking human side that's pulling him up. Right, Jack's only half fishman as far as I know? Or is he full fishman? I think he's half fishman. Right, because like humans obviously have the best representation. Because there's the most of them. Then the giants are putting in work at this point, considering Harold and Loki. So particularly the ancient giants, right? Ancient giants are actually extremely well represented in the story right now. Because we only know a few of them, and they're fucking powerful as fuck. Harold, Loki, Ors was apparently pulling continents in his prime and shit like that. Ors Jr. is the only bum. God knows how strong, like, the original fucking Onigashima was, right? So ancient giants are actually, I've got them at the top in terms of just, like, pure representation. Because, like, it's not fair to, like, humans, we've got, like, billions of humans in One Piece. So, like, obviously, just through a sheer numbers game, you're going to have, like, several humans that are, like, top tier. But, like, ancient giants, we've got, like, 4 of them. And, like... 2 of them are guaranteed top tiers, and like the other 2, like Ors and fucking Onigashima, seemingly were just like insane top tiers. Obviously, not all of the ancient giants are that strong, because like we know all of the ones that got captured by Galil, like the Galila company got captured and everything like that. So that's not a big deal. They're not all huge deals, but ancient giant representation is good. Lunarians are obviously fucking broken. Like, you could just have, like... I think Lunarians have the highest floor. Because, like, you could just be, like, a Lunarian with 0 fighting skills, and you're still damn near invincible, right? And you can still do, like, giant magma attacks and shit like that, right? Even the minks. The minks are better than the fishmen, right? Like, the strongest minks, like, Inuarashi, Nekomamushi... in Sulong form, I got them above Jinbei. Because, like, they can beat third commanders. They can beat, like, Jack and everything like that in Sulong form. I don't think it's confirmed that Jinbei can do that. And the minks are, like, a much smaller race than the fishmen, I think, in terms of numbers. That might not be confirmed, but it feels like that way. It feels like you see fishmen everywhere. You don't see minks too often. So, like, yeah, out of all the races that should be a lot stronger than humans, I think the fishmen are pretty low. I think they're out there and competing with like the fucking long, like the long legs and long arm characters. Those pretty much suck. But those were pretty like lame random races that Oda came up with in the first place. Yeah, I'm just surprised that there's no strong. Yeah, Little Oars Jr. is a bum. He's dragging down the ancient giant name. Yeah, I don't know who's the strongest fishman. Is it Jinbei or is it like Jack? It doesn't matter. Even Jack, he's just a half fishman, so it's like it's not even necessarily like he's strong. Like I don't even know if we count him, because again, it could just be his human sides bringing him up. And then you got like fucking who else? Who else do we have? The Fishman. I guess Fisher Tiger. We'll never know how strong Fisher Tiger was in his prime, but it didn't seem like Fisher Tiger was that strong. Okay, continuing on. But the Fishmen are oppressed? Yeah, they're oppressed because they're so weak. You think if they had like a Loki or a Herald, did anyone be oppressing them? So if Davy Jones is a Fishman, it would be quite a shocker to me. But I could see it being possible, especially if Oda happened to be a fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, because the Davy Jones in that he looks like a fucking he in the One Piece world he'd be considered a fishman. In fact, everybody on his crew is basically fishmen. Let me look up Davy Jones and see what he looked like in mythology. Davy Jones mythology. Okay, there's a lot of different variations of like how Davy Jones is depicted in mythology. Some have him looking really demonic. Interesting. Eric E, thanks for the 5. Prediction. We get lore on the legendary fruit of Elbaf, why it's locked away, and its connection to Joy Boy / the Void Century. Hint that it's Luffy's fruit. That is fucking huge. There's so much for us to learn in this flashback. We get lore on the legendary devil fruit of Elbaf. Eric E. Der Boppler, thanks to the 5. Will you see the Kaido video from Alexander before the Wano video? It made me really appreciate the character. Also collab or talk with AJ when? Is AJ Alexander? No, I didn't watch the Kaido video. Maybe I'll watch it. I haven't gotten to the Kaido section in my Wano analysis. I didn't watch that. I might give it a watch. I don't want to watch other people's stuff too much to influence my own opinions, but maybe it'd be good to watch it just to see. I guess it's always good. If I'm doing a critique, it's probably good to see perspectives that I'm not thinking about. So that might be a good idea. You know what? I'll make a note for that right now, because otherwise I'll probably just forget. Hold on. What is it? Yeah. All right. Isis1155, thanks for the 5. We see Emu send forces to the Rocks. Send forces to the Rocks Pirates plus Rock Pirates interact with Kureha. Third prediction. We see Rocks Devil Fruit. Okay, let me put these down. We see Emu send forces. I'm going to say after the Rocks Pirates. I think that's what you're getting at. Rocks Pirates interact with Kureha. We see Rocks' Devil Fruit. Okay. Normally, I'd rather just keep it to like 1, maybe 2 predictions. Just so I'm not like flooding it with like a bunch of one person's predictions. But I think we're wrapping up stream right about here. Yeah, probably give it a few minutes. Harold becomes a mod. Uh, Paul says Loki has to have an OP fruit. I hope it's not a troll from Oda. Yeah, because there's so much buildup around the character, and even Luffy's like, Luffy literally says, "I can't wait to see how he fights," like almost teasing the audience, like, how does he fight? I've heard some people argue that like Loki might just have the fucking normal Gomu Gomu no Mi, like the normal rubber fruit. I hope that's not the case, because it would be like a fun twist, but it would also feel like underwhelming. Um, the right now we know Ragnar, like the hammer alone has like I talked about this in the Loki video I did. It legitimately has lightning that is way, 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 way more powerful than Enel's. Like if you go look at like the lightning strike that he did, it is literally like spanning. It covers mountain ranges. It's way larger than Enel's. It's basically like Enel's lightning when he was using Maxim. So Ragnar is already a really broken power. Yeah, it's like Ragnar is a really broken power, so Oda might not feel the need to give him a broken Devil Fruit on top of that. But I would still like him to. All right, everybody. As I said before, I am very sleep deprived. We've been streaming a couple hours. I'm probably gonna call it here. I feel like we could have kept going a bit longer, but my stamina bar is a little bit low today. Morge, Oring Himbleton says, Morge, Rock's thumbnails have him with black and blue hair. Do you think Buggy is Rock's kid? So we've been swapping a little bit. We've been swapping because we don't know. Because like, there's also the argument that he's related to Kid, in which case it would be red hair. But some people have pointed out that Oda always does the shading for red hair differently. So actually, recently I've been doing what do you call? Recently I've been doing red hair for the thumbnails for Rocks, except for the recent stream. But that's because the streams, for streams I don't do red hair for Rocks. We do blue because I think for the streams we might be pulling from fan art of Rocks. I'm not sure. All right, everybody. I think we're gonna call it here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I think we got some predictions that I do think are. I think we might see a fruit reveal. I kind of hope Rocks has a fruit because like it's just exciting, and like devil fruit reveals are always exciting. And we already know that, like, Roger was just a hockey guy, so I kind of want to see a contrast with Rocks having a powerful fruit. And it could tell us a lot, like, some symbolism about modern-day story, like whoever has the fruit in the modern day or whatever. I would love to see Rocks defeating Roger. I would love to see more Kaido lore, which I think we might get. I would love to get a reveal that Kaido is the son of Harold, but that's a long shot. And I definitely hope that we get to see Blackbeard's mom. I think that could be really interesting. And lore on the legendary fruit of Elbaf, because that's something we still need to find out about. All right, everybody. You know what? There's one last thing. Isis1155. I have to remove this. I have to remove your prediction because the rule is that if you're making a prediction, someone else you can't make a prediction because other people have already been predicting the type of the Guruguru no Mi stuff like that. So I feel like it's not fair to take somebody else's prediction and then just do a broader version of it. Maybe it's fine. I forget. We had a rule about this before. I'll think about the rule again later. But here's the way I'd put it. If this guy gets it correct and it's the Guruguru no Mi, I'm not going to give it to you, Isis1155. But if you get the general prediction of Rocks having a devil fruit correct and it's not the Guruguru no Mi, I'll give it to you. Did anybody else make a prediction about the fruit that Rocks has? No, I don't see it. All right, everybody. We are going to call it here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It was a fun stream and good way to end the week. And I'm fucking super excited for next chapter. The rest of this backstory is just going to be amazing. So, yeah. I will talk to